Hi, my name is Isabel Galiano and I am a cancer coach. My role is to support cancer patients and people affected by cancer throughout their healing journey. And I give advice in nutrition, in physical exercise, emotional well-being, stress management, and sleep coaching. And I am also a certified yoga teacher, certified in meditation and pranayama, and I am also a Reiki practitioner. So when you hear that through my qualification and my training, you will probably understand that I'm very much a believer in integrative medicine. And I truly believe that it's important to combine different modalities to achieve healing. Interestingly enough, more and more people are looking into integrative medicine modalities to enhance and support their healing process. And one of these modalities is energy healing. And that's what we are going to talk about today. In this topic is energy healing and cancer. And we are going to look into what is energy healing, how does it work, and then specifically, how can it be beneficial for cancer patients. And I'm very happy today to have Danielle van der Velde with me, who is actually my Reiki master. I've been trained by her, and she has many, many years of experience as a Reiki master, but also as a meditation master. And so my first question that would go to you, Danny, is to simply explain to us what is energy healing.
Okay, hi, good morning. It's good to be back on the Cancer Coach, Isabel. It's good to see you, although we saw each other at Qigong this week anyway, didn't we? Okay, so what is energy healing? So, you know, it's a big world, and there's a lot of terminology within that big world of energy healing. And there are a lot of different modalities of energy healing. So the one that I can speak to is the one that I know and that I use. And so I'm an Usui Reiki master teacher, which is some pretty high level language basically for what it means is that I've trained and I'm practiced to the highest level of Usui Reiki. Now, there are lots of different forms of Reiki as well. And I was attracted to Usui Reiki because it's the most traditional, it's the original one. There's quite a fair bit of discipline in it, which appeals to me. So Reiki is a Japanese term, which is actually made up of two words, rei, meaning universal, and ki, meaning life force. And so the basic premise of Reiki is that we are surrounded by, we operate in, and we're brought to bear by universal life force. And this is the vibrational essence of the material world that we live in and all phenomena. And this Reiki or universal life force is life wood. It promotes life and well-being, and it works beautifully with the human system, which is basically completely made of universal life force. And so what Reiki is a system whereby the practitioner can draw through and channel a concentrated amount of universal life force to the recipient. And that's what energy healing is. And the energy or the Reiki is regarded as both osmotic and intelligent, which it is in my observation. And what it will do is it will go through into the recipient, and it will work on areas within the recipient that are of the highest need, where there's the greatest need. And so you do have some quite unusual experiences in a Reiki session where you may have your hands on the participant's head, for example, which is the starting position of moving the Reiki through their energy body, yet they have a very strong sensation and release in their legs, because the Reiki goes to where it's needed and gets to work. And it's an incredible world to operate in. And I do understand for many people it sounds pretty mad. And I'd also like to reiterate that, you know, I've got a legal and finance background. Like, I've got a very, very interrogative, you know, I need to understand something, I need to experience it and trust it. And I've been working with clients in Singapore for, you know, a solid 5 years. I see around 20 people a week. And a good portion of those are also on a cancer journey as well. And just through my observation, and also I know we've got some more and more research now, it is integral to the healing journey, and it yields amazing results in people, which hopefully we can talk about some examples today.
Yes, and what I feel is important to understand, and maybe you can explain that also a little bit for people that are skeptical or simply haven't, researched it. When we talk about energy healing, we are energy beings, right? Yep. And the energy is all around us. So to kind of take away a little bit the mystical part of it, it's actually, very grounded, what we're talking about.
Oh, totally. Like if we're made of, numbers vary on this, but we're made of around, 72 trillion cells, the human system is. And if you take one of those cells and take a closer look, one of those cells is made of about, 100 million atoms. And if you take one of those atoms and look at it under an atomic microscope, you wouldn't see anything. There's an invisible vortex of vibrating energy at the nucleus, and then there's, subatomic particles also invisible spinning around it. We are made of energy, vibrating energy. And so if you look at the human system in that context, then energy healing actually takes a greater place in the role of bringing harmony and bringing well-being into the blueprint of the human body. And the human body is constantly reaching for harmony and healing. It's the way it's designed. And Reiki works with that innate healing mechanism of the human system.
And also we have this natural flow of energy in our body, and it's really to enhance the balancing effect of the energy, and maybe, to get rid of some blockages of our energy that you work on. And I always like to say, that we are energy bodies, and then we are, of course, also very much influenced by the energy around us. So it's the Reiki is a modality, but I also always like to remind people that, they need to be aware of what they sense around themselves. And also in a medical setting, I always say, it's very, very important that you feel, positive energy with your care team and the health practitioner you are working with. And there are studies that show that if you feel a positive energy, if you feel supported, the outcomes are better. And also in general life, the energy field, of people around you, of your friends, of your colleagues, has an impact on you. And I think that for people who haven't experienced techniques or therapies like Reiki, they can maybe relate to that. That the energy that you might feel, in a certain place when you go in a beautiful park and you feel this, this regenerating energy, this force of life, that's all energy. And when you are in contact with people, sometimes, you meet somebody and you just feel that they have this positive energy, which has a beneficial effect on you. There is also talking about energy. And then on the contrary, you can have people who you really feel how they drain your energy out of you. So all of this has to do with energy. And I think it's important to see that in a broader context and to be very mindful of this energy in a healing journey. And I also, for example, always say, make sure, that when you go into healing, that you surround yourself with people who bring you this positive energy, because that's what you need to be surrounded by this positive energy.
I totally agree with that. And we talked a lot about this in our last chat, didn't we, on the cancer code, about the impact of positive thoughts and positive thinking. So, if you're interested in, first of all, I absolutely agree. I think everyone, regardless of what they call it, because we are energetic beings, we have sensed environmental energy. We've sensed place, how spaces can hold energy. So walking into, for example, an old temple where there's been years and years and years and years of prayer and worship, it alters your consciousness. You can feel it. I think women are particularly sensitive to this. I'm not saying men aren't, but, any woman who's gone house hunting, where you've walked into a number of different homes, where there's been different energy and vibrations that have been lived within that space, you can totally sense it. And also our emanation, the energy that we emanate through our thoughts and our perspectives, and also even more broadly and more powerfully through our emotions from the heart field. What we feel and what we think is not contained within our skin. And if you're interested in this, go to the HeartMath Institute. They've just got some amazing, beautiful research around how what we feel generates vibrational fields that emanate feet out from our heart and our brain. The stronger one is from the heart. And we say feet out, but it's only because that's what we're able to measure now. But, you know, as our measurement techniques of energy become more and more sophisticated, I think we'll find that what we do know in Reiki, it goes beyond time and space, because in Usui Reiki, as you know, there's a technique where you can open up an energetic channel to someone who's not sharing the same space nor time with you. So I do this every Wednesday. So I do in-person sessions on Mondays and Thursdays in the healing rooms here in Singapore. But every Wednesday I have a lineup of clients that are outside of Singapore. And Usui Reiki's got this brilliant technique where you can open up a direct energetic channel and you can treat them, and they feel it. So you know, Mike, I know, you know, yesterday I had a client in 2 clients in India, I had a client in the UK, and I had a client in Australia, and one lady here in Singapore who was at home. And all of them can feel a shift in a movement in energy when the energy bridge is opened up, and all of them can feel that uplift and that drawing into presence and that calming of the whole system during the treatment as well. And so energy, we're only just starting to really understand and be able to measure this vibrating universe that we really are. And I think what's interesting too is this interplay between heart fields, which is what the HeartMath Institute researches. So, and like you just mentioned, we have that feeling like we've all been in the presence of someone who's emanating at a beautiful high vibration. They're free, they've got nothing to prove, there's a joy, and it's uplifting. Like you leave that, and also it's quite magnetic. Like you can be very drawn to someone of a particular vibrational resonance. And similarly, if you're with someone who maybe has got some issues going down, they've got depression and so on, you may not even know what their story is, but you can feel it. There's a drain.
So when, you know, what I found fascinating is when I did some research for this talk, that there is more and more articles that are actually published around energy healing, and I was not expecting that many of them. And also, you know, if you look at the website of most cancer institutes, they will mention Reiki, and so it becomes more and more accepted, and it's starting being used in hospitals, and there are some research that really kind of show that it can have positive effects. And I looked up a randomized controlled trial that has been made with 110 patients. And the aim was really to study, you know, if Reiki had an effect on cancer patients. And what was interesting is that they saw that there was an improvement in many parts of their well-being. So they would sleep better. They would say that the stress levels go down, that are more able to relax. And all this, it has not to be underestimated, especially in a cancer journey, because once you get this diagnosis, of course, you are put into a world of stress and of being all the time in fight or flight mode. And sometimes it's really difficult to get yourself out of this. And if we find some modalities, it can be energy healing, it can be other modalities that allow us to have this break, to get out of this, to just be able to relax and give our body and our mind a moment of relaxation, of disconnect. And that's where so much healing and regeneration of the body is happening. It's always beneficial. And what was interesting about this study here, that this randomized controlled trial, is that the conclusion was we don't really understand how it works, but it seems that it works. And what was mainly also a conclusion is that it definitely allows a relaxation of the patient. And if you are able to relax, it triggers so many other things in your body, like I mentioned, you know, less stress, better sleep, also, you know, emotional, your mood is better. And all these factors are so important in any healing process, and particularly also with cancer patients.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, I've got it with it, so people come and see me for energy healing for lots of different reasons, but within there I do have people who are on a cancer journey, and I think Reiki, from my observation, helps in a number of different ways. We know that it's often referred to as a facilitated meditation, because once the flow of Reiki starts running through the person's system, their brainwave patterning shifts. And it shifts in a way which is very, very similar to when you enter into states of meditation. But you're not necessarily, the recipient isn't sort of formally meditating on the healing bed, but the Reiki does do that to the brain. So, and if the system is tired, it'll knock them out. It's like they're hit with a tranquilizer dart, and it's rapid, like they'll just fall asleep straight away. And that's what this system needs. And also, in my observation now over the years, I think often that will happen with someone who's thinking a lot, because that mental field, which is a vibrational field, can sometimes get in the way of stuff. And so the Reiki will kind of knock them out, and then the flow will start to run through their energy body. But most people in my Reiki sessions will go into a theta brainwave state, and that's observable. So I call it the skimmy in between. It's where you're awake and you're aware, you know you're awake, you're deeply relaxed. It feels beautiful because you're present and in a trance-like state, but you couldn't be bothered moving. And we know that in the theta brainwave state, that's when the body gets to work with its healing mechanisms. And so that's the first thing. So Reiki changes your state of consciousness by altering your brainwave patterning, number one. The second thing... And
that's observable.
That's observable, for sure. And everyone, I haven't had any client ever that hasn't been altered almost straight away when the Reiki starts to flow. And you can see it in their bodies as well. Like they will spontaneously sigh. And sometimes people that, for example, have been holding a lot of tension, their body will flick a little bit. I warn them about that too in the pre-chat. I'll go, look, you might get some flicking, and a leg will go, or the head will, or sometimes the eyes will roll up, and this is the body's way of releasing tension. So, and the Reiki facilitates that. That's very interesting to observe. And
I think that everything that you said, now I have so many things that I want to say, but I think that again, I as a cancer patient, the true benefit also is as I said, this ability to get out of the world of cancer for a while. And yes, particularly also if you are in the midst of treatment, and that you have so many scheduled appointments. And as you said, for the busy minds, when you are in the process of cancer treatment, you are so busy with the treatments, with the doctor appointments, and it's all here in the head. And it's so important to also work, on the whole mind, body, and to not forget that part. And if you can have this possibility to find a way, to also look at your mind and to treat that too, it's so much beneficial. And when you were mentioning about the effect of Reiki, so that was definitely my experience. So the first time I had a Reiki session, I honestly had no clue what it was. I had no idea what to expect. I have had done meditation before, and for me it was like an immediate plug into meditation. That's what my experience was. Oh, I don't need to actively kind of do anything. Yeah. I mean, I passively put into deep meditation, and that's what I felt, like a deep, deep sense of relaxation. And you know how I am. When I like something, I need to pursue it. So that's why I immediately decided, to study it and to become a practitioner. But another aspect that I wanted for you to explain to us is, first of all, for people who have no idea what it is how does it work? So if you come in a session, how do you channel the Reiki? Okay. And then I also wanted you to talk a little bit about the importance of touch, which I understand is not always part of a Reiki session, but I also like to go into that.
Yep. Okay. Oh my God. All right. So heaps of stuff here. All right. So first of all, what you said about just that that much more deeper felt interpersonal aspect of Reiki, and a good energy session with a good healer as well. And I want to come back to that as well, about finding a good healer, okay? Because there's lots of energy healers. It's not necessarily a regulated industry as well. So so let's talk about that at the end too. But there is a very deeply personal and intimate aspect to energy healing, and a lot of my sessions are a combination of both connection, allowing the person to be heard and to be seen, and in some ways an energy healing session is a safe place where they can just put down the fight a little bit, and they can just be human about it, and the Reiki really opens that up as well. So yeah, I think there is that beautiful personal, you're not a statistic, you are a real person in this, you're doing well, yes, it's hard, and just being witnessed, you know, is massively powerful for people. The other thing that Reiki does do as well, and we talked about altering the brainwave patterning, and also facilitating, allowing the body to actually like release physically. It's a very somatic experience which helps the person get out of their head and back into their whole system, even if you don't touch. So as a practitioner, I like to touch my clients. Of course, I ask their permission before we start. I haven't had anyone that said, no, don't touch me. And of course, I would respect that. Reiki doesn't require touch, by the way. So there's a lot of practitioners that will just hover their hands over the sections. I like the touch. And there's something really beautiful about touch. And the experience of Reiki can be felt in a number of different ways. It can feel highly vibratory. So that feeling of pulsing energy, and even people who aren't really into energy work and energy practices, they can feel it. The hands at the touch can become quite unnaturally hot as well. So I've had people after the session come out and check to see if I was using heat pads on my hands, and that's the Reiki. So, and that can be really soothing, like on the heart and on the tummy. If there's head tension, that's very beautiful. But the other thing that Reiki does as well is it facilitates emotional release. And I think this is massively healing. And so often I'll have people come in who've just had a diagnosis, so they're going through all of that conflict. There can be, and they're big lurchy emotions. They can be like there's anger, there's why me, there's fear about the future. They're very big, dense, contracted emotion. And for a lot of people, they have also the added pressure where they have to stay strong for their family, and they've got to try and stay clear. And so those emotions are locked down, and they aren't given the space to complete their cycle and be released. And Reiki does that, and it's incredible. Like, you know, you certainly, usually for me, it's over the heart. So when I start running the energy into the heart, spontaneous tears, it just comes out. And I always tell my clients, you know, you can sort of sense that they've got a lot of locked up stuff. And I say to them, you know, it's quite possible that you'll have a spontaneous emotional release. And if you do, just go for it, you know, just let it rip. And because that is a massive healing mechanism of your body to release those emotions.
Exactly. And what you say about releasing emotion is something that many people don't allow themselves to do. And sometimes, honestly, you don't even have time for it. I mean, I remember when I was going through my treatments, I was so busy, you know, getting everything organized, not missing on any appointment. I had my work, you know, you still have life continuing around all the treatments. And you just don't find the time. And I have noticed that very often actually this happens when treatments have stopped. So very often, you know, once your treatments are over and you are not that busy anymore, comes this moment of, you know, it really hits you. Like, oh my God, what just happened to me? Did that really happen to me? And there is a need for an emotional release, but often people don't really know where to do that. So, and this finding a space where you feel comfort and support, and you have feel it a safe space to be able to release that is so powerful. And it also you know, having these feelings, it's a lot of toxicity in your body that gets out of it. And And I think that that's a very important part of the healing mechanism. And just to go back to touch, what I also, I always like to put things kind of very in a grounded way and to people to be able to relate. When we talk about Reiki and when you talk about, putting the hands over, I think another thing that people might relate to it is that usually when we hurt ourselves or when our kids hurt themselves, the first thing you would do is put your hands over it.
Yeah,
there is a very automatic reaction that you have.
Yeah.
If you knock your head, the first thing you would do is, and you will keep your hands for a while and you feel a sense of comfort.
We're not, this is not, the ability to heal and manipulate energy and manipulate, I mean, work with energy is innate in the human design, you gave a few examples where you instinctively put your hand over and hurt, but also when you've got a friend who's upset, but you will naturally put your hand on their back, which is over their heart chakra. Like it's in our design, the only difference with the Usui Reiki is that it's a technique where you can really direct and amplify that very same energy that runs out of our hands naturally. And but that's the only difference. It's working with the natural design of the human system. Just getting back to the allowing emotions through, there's a lot of research on this. So, how important it is not to suppress emotion and how important it is to allow emotion to run their course, because it does create inflammation and toxicity in the body, which is working counter to the healing process. But I think what I find fascinating about how often this happens, this spontaneous emotional release for people, and often they're surprised, and they sort of apologise and go, "Whoa, sorry, I didn't mean to have a big blubber." And I go, no, never apologise for that. That's fantastic. It means the system's working. But I guess what it's telling me in my sort of rational mind is that if this is happening to most clients that I see, this emotional release within an energy healing experience, then it's pointing very directly at the importance of emotional expression within healing and within well-being and healthy emotional expression. And it's clearly, and actually there's a summit going on currently, I think, by the same people who do Heal documentary around emotion. I'll send you the link, and if you want, if you think
I can share it, yes,
you can share it, yeah.
And then again, I think it's also important to talk about caregivers, because caregivers, and of course, because I'm a cancer coach, I see caregivers for cancer patients. They also suffer quite a bit. And they also go through a process of stress and of putting themselves at the top, up the bottom of the priority list. And I think that it's important also, to not only talk about the patient, but also the caregivers. And that's something that is very, very important for us at the Cancer Coach. We do also provide coaching for caregivers, because we know there is such a need for it.
Yes.
And emotional release, as you say, because again, also the caregiver wants to be strong for the cancer patients, and sometimes doesn't show this, and doesn't even feel allowed to show emotions, because he is not the patient, he's not the one that suffers. But I think it's important to not forget that they also need to find a way to express their emotions and to take care of them, and then also to give them some tips. How, because I get this question so often, from caregivers. What else can I do to support my loved one that is going through cancer? And touch is such an important thing. And again, always with the permission, always being very respectful. But as you say, holding a hand, giving a hug, all this transmits energy, and it's so comforting. And again, there are studies around that. If you give a hug, it should be at least 20 seconds, because that's where it makes an impact. And then also the touch on the shoulder. There's a reason why we say, a shoulder pad, but it has a reason. It gives a deep feeling of comforting and support. And these are easy ways that, of course, Reiki amplifies all of that. It's like a concentration of all of it, but it's some tips that we can give in a daily life. And I for our daily life. And I also read once a research with children, that when they go to bed, that if you pat them on the shoulder before they sleep, that it gives this sense of comforting, and that it enhances the quality of sleep.
Yep.
It can decrease the possibility of having nightmares. So all these modalities are known, and it's just the Reiki brings it kind of all together in a more powerful way.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. Yeah, like touch is like massively healing, and it's we are by nature tribal pack community type creatures, so touch is very important as part of that bonding and that feeling of connection. One thing I would say about the vibration, or something that's very important with this flow of energy and healing energy, and it's something that I cover when I'm teaching other healers as well, is how important your attitude is, because your attitude and your perspective is also a vibrational field. And so we do a lot of practice in my courses on cultivating true compassion, because what I've discovered in my own practice is that if I have someone come in and it comes from a good place, but I feel sort of sorry for them, so the Reiki closes down, because pity it includes a judgment.
Yes.
So, but if I feel that happening, and I sort of reset my own attitude towards what I'm doing into much more expansive, compassionate one, and co-passion is just standing alongside and feeling the feels with them. That's it. Not trying to fix them, not feeling sorry for them, but just bearing witness to their journey is a much more collusive attitude and vibration for Reiki, and you can feel it as a Reiki practitioner. If I shift from pity to compassion, the Reiki starts flowing really strongly. So even if you're not an energy healer, but you're with someone in a cancer journey, I think it's really good to check in with your own attitude towards your role and how you're feeling towards that person, and honour that person and their journey with compassion rather than pity. A judgment doesn't work with energy, even if it's coming from a good place. So I'd add that.
And you know what? As a cancer patient, you sense that. You so much sense that. And it's something that I felt very deeply when I was growing through it, and what I hear all the time from my clients, I just don't want the pity eyes. And sometimes, cancer patients, they don't even want to go out, because when physically, it becomes more apparent that they are sick, they lose their hair, or they become more frayed, and they just say, I can cope with it. But once I go outside, I can't cope with the people the way they look at me with the pity eyes, and it does have a deep impact on you. And yes, and I think that's a very important tip to give to people around you, is that it's not ill-intended, but to be mindful of that, And I do remember very well, that I would go to a supermarket. I had, I lost all my hair and I had a scar, and people would look at me like, in a shocked way and turn around, and then you will feel how they chit-chat behind you, and it deeply affects you. And I think that what is important to understand is that when you're going through any health challenge, not only cancer, you become oversensitive. And you are very sensitive to all this perception, and your radar is kind of on, and you really sense all of this. So
you're very vulnerable. You're going through a very, very intimate, vulnerable experience of life, and you're really facing a lot of very big existential considerations in a cancer journey, and so. But I do think people, and that's why it's so good that you work with caregivers, and you also work with other people just raising awareness generally, because particularly in our Western culture, we're totally crappy at dealing with big concepts of death. We just don't talk about it, and it's this big elephant in the room, and also illness. Like we're not very good at culturally and socially and I'd even extend that to, you know, people with disabilities and that sort of thing. We're just awkward with it. And I don't think that's anyone's fault. I think it's actually a cultural thing. I think Eastern cultures are way better with this sort of dealing with people that are on different journeys that trigger our own fears. Just getting back to compassion, compassion can be cultivated, and I think this is a really important thing to add into this discussion, and especially if you are a caregiver or you're sharing your life with someone on a serious health journey. Compassion absolutely can be cultivated because it's a particular vibration, and everything is a vibration. And so there are very, very beautiful, altruistic, nobly intended meditations and energy practices that you can do, including mantra, like the beautiful Om Mani Padme Hum. It's a Sanskrit mantra, and Sanskrit, it's not about the meaning that the words say, it's about the sonic patterns that they generate when you intone them. And Om Mani Padme Hum generates a sonic pattern which is correspondent to the vibration of compassion. So that's just one example of a practice that you can employ in your daily meditation or whatever that helps you cultivate a vibration of compassion, especially if you're needing it, you know, if you're needing it with other people, to pull you out of the pity pit and get you plugged into a much stronger, much more useful vibration for the people that you're sharing your life with. It can be cultivated.
I'm looking here at some questions, and just as a reminder, if you are watching us live, please send us questions if you have them. If you watch us in a recording session, still you can send us questions. We will be answering them. So one of the questions I got is: are there any side effects to when you do these energy sessions?
Oh, that's interesting. So side effects, isn't that funny how we equate everything to medicine?
Yes.
No. So there aren't any side effects in the terms that you're going to that it can be bad for you or you can have too much of it. You can't overdose on Reiki, but there can be some delayed effects which a good healer will help you through as well. So in the main, people will walk out of a session vastly different to how they were feeling walking in, with a great sense of positivity, and their stress circuit has been broken. And that cuts them a bit of slack to reorganise their perspective and their views, and possibly to make some different choices in their life that's been causing the stress or the anxiety. Some people, if they have a big release, will go into a day or two of quite low vitality. And so, you know, where they feel they just got to go to bed. And I always suggest staying super hydrated. The Reiki stays in the system after a session for about 48 hours. So you want to stay super hydrated, employ all the self-care stuff that you know. Stay away from anyone triggery or annoying or needy, just call them back at the end of the week kind of thing, and go into self-care. So that can happen. So, but not, it's not usual, but it can happen. And then there is another phenomenon with energy healing, which is not just exclusive to Reiki, which I think is very wrongly termed a healing crisis. But this has only happened twice in all of the clients which are in the thousands that I've seen. It's only happened twice, and this is where the symptom. It's never happened with a cancer client, but where a symptom will flare briefly and then move out of the system completely. So there's like a woof, and then out it goes. And I've had that happen twice, and both with skin stuff, like eczema and that sort of thing. Super rare. And but you know, again, if you're experiencing that, then you get in contact with your energy healer, and they can help you through it. And additional Reiki can suit that out too. But no.
And it's interesting because I like to read articles and research papers, and I looked up everything I could find for around Reiki, and I couldn't find any side effects. And even, if you look at most cancer institutes who mention Reiki, they would say, even though, there is not enough research, to show and understand the benefits of Reiki, there are no known side effects to it, which I think it's always important to say. And that's something that I believe that both of us, we take that very seriously. And in all the services that we offer, we make really sure that it's all about, complementary therapies where there is no risk of side effects. And in integrative complementary therapy, we talk, of course, also about nutrition and meditation and exercise and stress management, all of these things. What is great about it is that it can only be beneficial. Worst case, you don't feel much of a difference, but it won't put you in a more vulnerable position. And I think
it's not a foreign element that you're introducing into your system. It's the vital life force that actually keeps your system running and reaching for healing. So it's massively, it fits, it's synergistic with the human system. I was going to say something then, I had a thought. Oh yeah, the main reason why my cancer clients engage me is how effective the Reiki is at soothing the side effects of the Western medical treatment for the cancer. So I have clients that are in chemotherapy and they book me in a couple of days after their treatment sessions because the Reiki really helps in soothing the nausea and also sometimes that feeling of anxiety and that sort of electrical feeling that some people could have with some of the, and also the radiation. Rather than the Reiki having a side effect, I think it's very, very useful in managing the side effects of cancer treatment. But just going back,
what you just say, that's exactly what was also this conclusion of this randomized control trial, that it was shown that the people participating to that trial, they showed, improvement in their fatigue, in their pain, in anxiety, and generally improved quality of life. That's what came out of this trial. And I think that, the main takeout here is that we really encourage people to look out for modalities that will treat the whole body, but also the mind body, and to be very inclusive and to look at different modalities and to really have an integrative approach of any healing process. And everybody is different, every journey is different, and everybody will click with different kind of modalities. But I think it's very important to encourage this, to look after modalities that will help you also emotionally and mentally.
Absolutely. And you need a team around you when you're going through something really big like cancer, and a team of specialists, right? So, and which is one of the reasons I'm just so happy to be a part of your offering, because you do have that. Like you've brought in different sort of, specialists through the whole spectrum of wellness, and it's good for people to have one place to go to at least even just get some smarts. But with I just wanted to add one more point, sorry, just on the side effect thing. One other thing that can happen with Reiki after a session is that the emotional release can happen afterwards. And so I had seen quite a few executives, and because it's fantastic for stress and mental stress. And there also is a very interesting connection with Reiki and intuition, which we can talk about if we've got time, which is one of the reasons a lot of people come and see me. But there can be a lag effect. So I often say, my regular clients now know that they don't book the big board meeting or something, straight after their Reiki session, because it can be an innocuous trigger. Like you could be watching the news or something, but you have an over emotional response and you start to cry a couple of days after your session. That's the Reiki. Okay, so that's that beautiful expulsion of tension and that healing mechanism kicking in. But so sometimes mostly happens in the session if that's what the body needs to do, but it can happen a day or two afterwards as well. So I guess you could call that a side effect, but it's a good one.
Yes, definitely. And again, we definitely promote and support, and motivate everybody look out for this emotional support. And as you mentioned, we like to surround ourselves with specialists in every field, and we are so happy to have you on board, as a meditation teacher and Reiki practitioner. We have our personal trainers, our psychologists, oncologists, of course, cancer coaches. But it's exactly as you said. We always say it takes a village to raise a child, but it definitely takes a big village, to treat a cancer patient. And we understand that everybody is an individual person, and everybody will click with different modalities. And for us, it's always about having as many tools as possible to offer to a client, so they can kind of have their own toolbox of support and mechanism that will really make a difference in their healing journey.
I agree. And I do think as well, one perspective of actually having a cancer experience in your life is, as difficult as it is, there are some amazing outputs from going through that journey. And one of them is, first of all, that you get to understand your strength and just, your wherewithal and your ability to handle big stuff. But the second one is I think that there is a massive opportunity for people in a cancer journey to really engage in a way deeper felt understanding of the way the human system can heal. And that knowledge is like treasure, to actually go through a felt and a lived experience of the incredible healing abilities of the body, and to learn about these other modalities and other aspects of the body, like the energy construct of the body, for example, and how vibrational resonances affect the cells and so on. So I think it's good to gather a team around you, and to get clued up as much as you can.
Yes, and when you go through such an experience, it also kind of puts you in a position where you are almost forced to analyze yourself, to really look a little bit deeper. And I have seen with my clients that those who open up to it and are brave enough to really look into their lifestyle, to look into their emotional well-being, that they do much better.
Yeah, and, I agree.
We know, cancer usually occurs not in a few months. It develops. It takes 5 to 10 years to develop. So a lot is happening during those years. Yeah. And to have like a very honest look at what have been contributing factors in your lifestyle, in your emotional well-being. Once you open up to look into them and then to address them, it's a very powerful additional support in your healing journey.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think the big paradigm shift is shifting from feeling like you're fighting your body. And often I think the language in the cancer world isn't great for that. Like, you often hear about, I'm in a fight and I'm fighting, and I understand that is a strengthening attitude that some people need to take so they can keep moving through. But with additional knowledge about how your system works, you can start to work in collusion with your body and the healing mechanisms of your body. And I think that's a way better way to roll. And I also see better outcomes with people who are able to do that and make the changes as well, to work in collusion with the body, to honour the body.
And I think another important thing, and we can have a whole talk about that, is about the belief that you are able to heal. And I think that's also something that you give, in a session, that you give this additional belief and sense of trusting in your body to find its way to healing. And that's what the body is ultimately, made, is to find the balance, to find a healing process. And the more you believe in it, also, the better your body reacts to it.
Oh, totally, yeah. And you did that beautiful talk just recently on epigenetics and And another great read, you know, I would definitely recommend that anyone watching this go back and look at that one, and also read Dr. Bruce Lipton's Biology of Belief, which really talks about the interplay between the vibrational resonance of belief. So there's the vibration again, the energy again, and how that interplays with the cells. And, you know, he won a Nobel Prize for it. It's a fantastic book. Super sciencey at the beginning. I found it a bit of a slog, but it's worth it. And then towards the end, it gets into the really interesting empirical evidence. But yeah, absolutely. And Reiki does do that, you know, because what it does is it shifts the vibrational resonance of the thought and the feelings into a much more expanded, lighter, felt feeling, which is way easier then to hold, even if it's just gently holding the possibility of healing, which is critical. I mean, if you don't think it's possible to heal, you're not going to heal. And so Reiki helps facilitate the ability of the recipient to hold the possibility, which is what we might call hope. You know, hope is belief and aspiration, and it's a beautiful, high, light, resonant vibration in the system, which
the energy of hope.
The energy of hope, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Danny, I really am very grateful that you took the time again to participate to this and give you all your insights. And for me, it was really important, you know, to also look at this aspect. I like to have oncologists, I like to have scientific person, but I think we should never, you know, underestimate the power of the mind and the importance to have this full mind-body approach.
I
Thank
agree.
you so much.
It's a pleasure,
Danny.
as well. Thanks.
See you soon, and thank you for listening. And don't forget to send us your comments and your questions. And see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.